Imagine a prison with no guards, no locked doors, no alarms, and yet everyone behaves. That's the world Michel Foucault warned us about. Not one ruled by violence, but one ruled by invisible obedience. This is not a video about rebellion. It's a video about recognition. Why you live by rules you never chose, and how to finally see them. In the past, rulers used chains. Kings used swords. Punishment was public, violent, and theatrical. But fear doesn't scale. You can't govern millions with terror forever. So power evolved. Foucault noticed that modern society replaced pain with patterns, replaced punishment with discipline. Today, power doesn't chain you to a wall. It teaches you to chain yourself. It starts early. You raise your hand. You wait for the bell. You wear your name tag. You are taught to obey the system, not because you understand it, but because it's normal. Schools, prisons, hospitals, factories, offices. They don't just organize people, they shape them. Foucault called this disciplinary power, and you were born inside it. Before the 19th century, there was no concept of a normal human. There were only people. But as medicine, psychology, and statistics grew, something changed. We began to measure everything: height, weight, IQ, productivity, gender roles. And anything outside the average was labeled as abnormal, deviant, dangerous. Foucault warned that normalization is one of the most powerful psychological weapons ever created. If you're outside the curve, you're re-educated, medicated, or marginalized. And soon, you begin to fear standing out at all. The system doesn't need to punish you. It just needs to define what's correct. The genius of modern control is that it's invisible. You don't need police on every corner when shame lives in every mind. You don't need chains when fear does the job for free. Foucault called this biopower control, not just of people, but of their bodies, habits, and identities. You diet not for health, but to fit an image. You speak carefully, not because of truth, but because of consequence. You scroll not to connect, but to be seen. And most terrifying of all, you do it to yourself. Today, control doesn't feel like control. It feels like identity. Capitalism sells you rebellion in the form of brands. Politics gives you the illusion of choice between two cages. Algorithms feed you what you already believe, and so you confuse obedience with freedom. Foucault's question was never, who has power? It was, how is power operating through you? You don't need to be locked up to be imprisoned. You just need to forget you're being shaped. So what can you do? Foucault didn't offer simple answers, but he offered a lens. Awareness isn't escape, but it's a start. You can't change what you can't see, but the moment you see it, the rules lose power. The job you thought you needed, the role you thought you had to play, the shame you thought was yours. These were all given to you, not chosen. Now you get to choose. What if your desires were never really yours? What if everything you want was taught to you? Foucault hinted that modern power doesn't just control your behavior, it shapes your cravings. Through culture, through media, through silent imitation, we mimic what we see. We imitate what gains approval. We seek status, not from truth, but from signals. And so control evolves from external laws to internal longing. You're not just watched, you're analyzed. Every click, every pause, every hesitation. Foucault warned about systems that observe behavior to discipline it. And now, the algorithm is that system. You become predictable. You become profitable. You become manageable. And the better they know you, the easier it is to shape who you become. When systems of power remain invisible long enough, resistance begins to feel impossible. You don't rebel, not because you're happy, but because you believe nothing will change. This is learned helplessness, a psychological surrender born from repeated failures and silent control. Power wins not by force, but by making you forget you ever had a voice. What if freedom was just a curated illusion? You vote, you scroll, you pick your job, your lifestyle, your path. But beneath every choice is a narrow frame built for you. The algorithm gives you options, but only ones that serve its ends. Foucault warned us, being able to choose between paths is not freedom if all paths lead to the same destination. Control isn't just enforced through systems, it's embedded in speech. The words you're allowed to use, the ones you're punished for. Who defines truth? Who controls narrative? Who decides what can't be said? Foucault studied how language itself becomes a gatekeeper, a boundary, a leash. Even your time isn't your own. From childhood to death, your days are carved into schedules. You're measured by output, rewarded by obedience to the clock. And over time, you start to equate busyness with worth. Foucault argued, the clock is not neutral. It's a tool of power. At the end of it all, Foucault's most haunting idea is this, that you are both prisoner and warden. You repeat the rules. You monitor your own thoughts. You shame yourself before anyone else can. True power doesn't watch you. It teaches you to watch yourself. Michel Foucault didn't define power as force. He revealed something deeper and far more unsettling. That real power doesn't scream. It whispers. It wears the mask of normal. It hides in the routines you never question. That's what makes it dangerous, because the most effective form of control is the one that makes you believe you're free. The rules you follow, they didn't ask for your permission. They simply showed up before you ever knew you could say no. And yet they shape everything. How you speak, how you dress, what you fear, who you become. So ask yourself, how much of you is you and how much is programming? The rules only win when you forget their rules.